Wow, look at this dusty old computer. I bet it's an ancient piece of garbage. What's this? A modern operating system? Retro emulation? PC gaming? On this old thing? What the heck is going on? I'm scared. Hello there. I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video, buddy. I like things that look like things. Like this. It looks like an audio cassette, but it's actually a hard drive. And this, it looks like a little arcade machine, but it's really a container to hold your Lego. But this computer is special. Not only is it a computer, it also looks like a computer. No, I don't mean that it's a computer that looks like an actual computer. I mean it's a computer and it looks like a different computer. I'm not explaining this well. Let me try again. This computer might look like a computer, but it's not. It's just a case that looks like a computer. And inside the case is a computer. Does that clear it up? Yeah? Okay, good. Seriously though, isn't this thing freaking awesome? This is the AYANEO AM01. That's right, AYANEO is entering the mini PC space, part of their new remake concept, a line of products that are supposed to capture that old school nostalgia. I don't think all of the products in this line succeed at that, but this one certainly does. It's a modern mini PC that's going for that vintage retro Macintosh Classic 2 aesthetic. They do good work, AYANEO, so I was very excited to get my hands on this one. I mean, you guys know how much I love my tech with the retro vibe, right? It's kind of a thing with me. So this project is live right now on Indiegogo. It comes in several models. They have a few models with a fairly old and weak Ryzen 3 2300U processor, which will run you $150 to $220. And then there's the higher end model with a Ryzen 7 5700U processor from $270 to $380. My first thoughts of these prices are that the Ryzen 3 3200U model is overpriced. The 3200U has worse general performance compared to the Intel N100 mini PCs that are abundant on Amazon, but it'll totally get you by for basic tasks, word processing, watching movies, or even some light emulation and gaming. The 16GB of RAM 5700U model is the best value, I think. That's the sweet spot, if higher end gaming or more intensive PC tasks are going to be important for you. But what we get here that no other mini PC will get you is the looks. This looks like an old Mac Classic computer, so you can expect to spend a bit more for style points. I don't think any of the options AYANEO is offering here is a terrible deal, considering the uniqueness of this product. Let's do the unboxing now. This box is pretty darn big, considering that this is a mini PC. We have some nice retro-looking graphic design on the outside. Inside the box, we have a box, an AYANEO box. Let's see what's in here. There's a word paper book with some instructions for adding hard drives or whatever. We're not going to need that. And over here we have an ISpace software manual. What is this? Oh, it's stickers. They give us some nice retro stickers. Look at all this stuff. Oh, these ones here are like screens for the mini PC. So you can stick that on the fake screen and it'll look like it has stuff on it. And then we have the mini PC itself. We'll come back to that. And then under here we have a box, another box. And then in this box we have more boxes. It's like a Russian nesting box. This one is our power adapter. I'm assuming the plug part is somewhere else. Over here maybe? Whoa, tons of stuff in this box. Wow. There's my North American plug. We'll put this right on the adapter and it's good to go. This is a 72 watt adapter, by the way. Oh, look at that. Real gamers, no gamers. Thank you, AYANEO. And we have some screwdrivers and guitar picks and a bunch of screws, some little button covers for that little button on the front. And here's a hard drive mounting bracket. Oh, look at that. They even got fancy, put some cool gamer crap on there. And a SATA hard drive adapter if you add a 2.5-inch drive. Oh my gosh, yes, an HDMI cord, finally. And there's the PC itself. Isn't it pretty? So this little badge thing comes out. It's a magnet and we can choose a different one. Nothing particularly interesting. Man, I know it's dumb, but I'm really into the idea of these stickers. Let's go with this one. Happy Retro Face. So my computer can have a face and I can talk to it and pretend I have a friend. And that's how to unbox a mini PC. Follow me for more tips. I already touched on the specs of the various models, but let's go over what I have in my specific model here. This one has a Ryzen 7 5700U APU, which is an 8-core 16-thread processor with a max boost of 4.4 GHz, with integrated Radeon Vega 8 graphics. We also get 16 GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 MHz, 512 GB of NVMe internal storage, and also Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, a whole bunch of holes. It weighs 486 grams, and it's this big. Let's take a good look at this thing before we fire it up. We have a power button on the top. It looks like a little switch, but it's just a button. On the front, we have one USB-C hole and a headphone hole. Around back, wow, tons of holes back here. There's a power plug hole, 2 display holes, one HDMI 2.0 and one DisplayPort 1.4, and there's 4 USB-A holes. And we get 1 gigabit RJ45 hole for networking. And we get plenty of ventilation, vents on all the sides and a ton of ventilation on the bottom. And then this is interesting. The feet here means that this is the bottom, so it's meant to lie flat on the desk. However, I kind of thought it would have been cool to be able to stand it up, you know, to look like a computer. There's no feet down here and you just get it scratched up and you'd lose your USB-C and headphone, so obviously it's meant to lie flat. I just kind of wish I could have it stand up like a real Macintosh Classic too, you know? Still, overall, very cool looking mini PC. I freaking love the look of this thing. I love me that retro aesthetic, and this is really up my alley. I'm definitely going to leave this setup just because I love seeing it on my desk. The Windows setup is standard stuff. Go through the questions, agree to give Microsoft your firstborn child, you know, the standard Windows stuff. And then we're greeted by this. Space, which is AYANEO's gaming front end. It launches by default, but it has controller prompts before you even have a chance to set up the controller, so it doesn't work. You can sort of use the keyboard, but it's kind of awkward to exit just to finish setting up the computer. And I guess they intended this to be like a front end for the computer, but even after you get it all set up, this software is annoying. It's a game launcher, as if you need that in your life, but this is the only place you can access the power management options like the TDP controls, so you're kinda forced to use it. I guess it's a fine program if you're on a handheld, or if you mostly just want to use this as a home console and stick to a controller. There's some useful stuff in here for that, but it's useless on just like a Windows PC. The Windows install is otherwise basic stuff. We do get a nice fancy retro looking desktop wallpaper though, so it gets points for that. As for how it works, let's do some benchmarks. In Cinebench R23, which is a CPU intensive task, I got a multi-core score of 8,572 and a single core score of 1,200 something. I forget. I'll put it on the screen. In our SSD benchmark, Crystal Disk Mark, I got these results. Pretty standard stuff for an included NVMe SSD on a mini PC. In 3D Mark Time Spy, I got an overall score of 1,460, which is pretty underwhelming, to be honest. Speaking of which, on to the gaming performance. So obviously all the lower spec PC games are gonna run fine. Here I am playing Death Must Die, my current indie gaming addiction. I can't freaking stop playing this game. And it's running amazing, even when the screen gets pretty bloated up with effects. I can't speak to the performance of the 3200U model, but I doubt you'd have any issues playing these sorts of games on that chip either. And Dota 2, and honestly, I was expecting more out of this machine with this game. I'm running at 1080p, lowest settings, and I got just 68 FPS. But of course, we have to remember this is a mini PC. I'd say that's about fair performance at this price. And here's an older game, some game that I found that I'd never heard of, Scry Scrim or whatever. It's like a medieval game with magic and dragons and magic dragons. Kinda fun, I guess. You should give this one a try if you haven't heard of it. It ran great. I'm at the high settings, 1080p, and I got 56 FPS on average. This game came out in like 2011, so it's not surprising that it runs well. But that's one of the benefits to cheap mini PCs. They can run old PC games as good as high-end gaming PCs from a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, to be fair. And for my modern game, I decided to go for good old Doom Eternal. This is 1080p, low settings, and I had to go down to 75% resolution scale, which is 900p. Yes, it is. I got 41 FPS on average. I like a higher FPS for this game, so it's a shame that we can't get better performance. Maybe at 720p, which would actually be fine. I don't mind going there if it means that I can get the performance that I want, but I think this just shows that the 5700U APU that we have in here isn't a beast. It's good enough to game on, just don't expect to be blown away for performance, at least in newer titles. And let's do a little retro games, I guess. I think lots of people in the retro gaming hobby would be drawn to this PC because of the way it looks. I'm not going to go over the easy stuff because, come on, every PC can run the easy stuff. GameCube ran amazing. I was getting the occasional stutter from the shaders, but for the most part, it was a solid 60 FPS. And I was upscaled to 1080p here. A pretty good start. And no problem with PS2. Also upscaled to 1080p, running beautifully. Wii as well. Here's Donkey Kong Country Returns, upscaled to 1080p, and it's running pretty much the same as GameCube. And Wii U worked really good. I'm running Mario Kart 8 at the native resolution, and it's very close to 60 FPS the whole time. But in this emulator, we don't get audio stuttering, so it's still totally playable, even if we're not at full speed. PS3 wasn't so great, to be honest. Here's Skate 3, and the frame rate was all over the place. I bet there are other PS3 games that would work fine, but this one isn't very consistent, so I wouldn't enjoy playing like this, even though I'm obviously amazing at the game. And then we have Switch. I had to go to handheld mode, so this is 720p. Not perfect, but it was playable. So overall, lots of good emulation that you can do on here, but probably not everything. And I wanted to do a quick teardown, just to see what the upgrade experience is like. For context, this is what it's like to access the internals of that Ace Magic mini PC that I reviewed recently. But upgrading on this AM01 is some next level nonsense. To start, one of the screws holding in the bottom panel was stripped on my unit. It took some serious wrestling to get this out. Then it was guitar pick time. Once I got in, I found that there's nothing you can access in here. No big deal, I thought. I'll just take out the screws holding the motherboard in, and I'll be able to pull that out and access the underside. I took out every screw that I could find on the motherboard, but it wasn't going anywhere. I even had to resort to reading the instructions, like some sort of boomer. What has my life become? So, okay, I got the fan off, I can access all the screws, but now I see it. There is a secret fourth hidden screw holding that motherboard in, and it's underneath the heatsink. Even the manual doesn't show this screw. It just says take out the 3 screws, but no, there's 4 screws. And the only way to access that 4th screw is to remove the heatsink. The freaking heatsink on the CPU with the thermal paste all exposed and everything, and they sell this as a bare bones kit. They expect people to buy this and then have to deal with this just so they can use their PC. That is not cool, man. Anyways, yeah, get that up and you can change the RAM, put an SSD in, well, all that stuff, whatever. So, do I like the AM01 and do I recommend it is the question of the day. Kinda. There are quite a few things that I like about it. Obviously, I love the look of it. As mini PC products go, this thing is absolutely the coolest little computer that I've ever set my eyes on. I love the Mac 2 retro vibe, and that alone is reason enough to want this on my desk. Combine this with a retro keyboard and mouse and you got yourself a super retro feeling computer. I have other more powerful mini PCs, but this one is already at the top of my favorites list purely because of the way it looks. It doesn't have amazing performance, about standard for these components and a bit behind the pack compared to other products at this price point. But I don't care. I don't expect face-melting gaming performance from a, $300 mini PC, so I'm willing to just think of this as a PC that should be used to play lower spec games, older games, and retro games. Maybe a few easier modern games, I guess. And at that, it does just fine. There are a few missteps, like the obnoxious upgrade process, the useless bundled software, and I really wish the PC could be stood up like a computer. But those gripes aside, I'm really into this product. It's a good first attempt at a mini PC by AYANEO, and I hope they make more of these these things because AYANEO makes unique stuff, which isn't something that we get from lots of companies these days. If you'd like to pick up your own AM01, the Indiegogo campaign is live right now, and I'll include a link in the description below. And that brings us to the end. Thanks for watching and stuff. If you like this video, then check out this video, my review of the Ace Magic S1, another cheap mini PC that I checked out recently, and I liked it a lot. There's a link on the screen right now and down there in the description below, and you can go watch it now because we're done. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.